Beautiful! Hi, I'm Heinbach and it's good to have you back. A few weeks ago, I made a video on flunging.
Okay, here we go. Drop it in. Yeah!
I explored how the technique came about and sounds when used the old school way with 2 tape machines. In this video, I want to do something similar with phasing, but not the phasing that you get from something like a small stone pedal. I mean the phasing that became the core technique of minimal music in the 1960s. This is the second time I'm trying this technique. The first time I did it live on stage and I failed. So in this video we're gonna do it in a studio situation, fixing everything that I learned when I first tried this live. Let's watch what happened there and I'll see you in a bit. I'm packing up my tape machines because I've got a live shoot in Cologne and I want to explore an idea that Steve Reich used in many of his works called phasing. In his early works, Reich used 2 tape machines and had the same phrase looping on each. He had noticed that if you loop 2 identical phrases on 2 tape machines, they will drift apart over time. The resulting rhythmical offsets had an almost kanon-like effect, and he quickly realized its musical possibilities. The first piece he used it in is the now seminal It's Gonna Rain. I want to try this technique at Chamber Remix in Cologne, where I'll be remixing classical Indian music played by Hindol Deb. Working with loops from music created with only 1 instrument seems to me the perfect opportunity to try phasing. And the Nagra is already set up. And I'm using this AKG stereo mic. Workspace is all set up. So now I'm just gonna find all the parts that I want, make loops from those, and then I'm gonna re-record those loops from the loops onto other loops. I think that's really the simplest idea. Good. Cut and splice here. So, and we got our first loop. In the studio, probably back in the times, you would have done all of this with a ruler, which I don't have. I don't have a ruler here. It's the punk version of minimal tape music. I kind of doubted myself, but they're the same length. 2 hours later, this is the floor, and on the bed, cozily, are lying the tape loops. Everything set up on the table, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. This is gonna be so much fun. Here I've organized all the tape loops. The show itself went well, and Hindol and the audience loved what I did with the tape loops. But of course, as I said, I failed in using phasing, and that's due to a bunch of reasons. The first one is obviously I was doing this live. In that situation with a new material, it's almost impossible to line up two tape loops so they start at the same time. Then I was using two different tape machines. One was a mono machine, the other is stereo, and when I bounced from one to the other recording onto loops, that led to a lot of lo-fi-ness being added. So I ended up going even more into that, pitching everything down, which created pretty massive soundscapes, but not so good for like doing the work of phasing. But what I really did not think about was the material itself. The loops were cut from the concert Hindol had played the day before. So aside from selection, I had no influence over the material. I just picked things that sounded good to me and I knew, yeah, this will work on tape. But when Steve Reich went really in on this technique, he was working on Terry Riley's In C, and he proposed an 8th pulse. And with something like that, an 8th pulse, the phasing becomes really transparent because you've got a fixed time reference. I had nothing like that in the show. So for this, I'm going to do this with an 8th pattern. Let's head over to the piano. Okay, that's 3 phrases. Maybe I can build a whole piece from these. The loops are cut, and I'm just nudging them to the start point, the splice point. So theoretically, if I press play on both machines, they should run in time. Depends on my precision. I gave my best, but I never trained to cut tape. I just learned it on the fly. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. So, both machines are ready. Let's go. R2 playing. Yeah, it's both of them. Very tight. I'm starting to hear a tiny shift. The change is really, really slow. I don't know why I thought it would go faster. Absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna put the full-length recording of this on Patreon. Because I think this is getting too long for YouTube. Beautiful. The second loop, there's way more effect way quicker, and I'm guessing that's because the loop is not as perfectly cut, so there is a little bit of timing difference. That was more than a lot of fun and definitely worth that I tried it out in a studio situation. I was very surprised how different the loops reacted, just depending on how precisely I'd cut them. Loop 1 was very long in the phasing, loop 2 very quick, and loop 3 had a lot of tape warble, which was all interesting different colors. Steve Reich translated what he learned from working with tape into instrumentation, and he had players play these time shifts. And the first time I heard that live, it was Steve Reich's drumming, I was mesmerized by the tones that happened. To do this myself, as it was done back in the 60s, was both an education and a lot of joy, because I could apply it to my own music, which in this case went rather more maximal than minimal. You'll find this piece on my Patreon, and your support there makes videos such as this possible. If you have any questions or further ideas how to work with this technique, leave it in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye.